morning, and we do have a tornado warning coming into Chicago right now. Actually, this entire swath is warned for 1, 2, possibly 3 tornadoes at least. This is, let me zoom out here and give you a good look at what we're looking at. So we're looking at northern Illinois, specifically Chicago, and you can see that we have this tornado warning here on the northern side of Chicago going into Evanston right now until 10 o'clock this evening for Central Time Zone. Tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage are located over Streamwood, moving east at 35 miles an hour. So what the National Weather Service is saying here is that they've already had damage reported, and they're expecting even more damage as the system continues to track east into some more populated areas. One of the biggest hazards that they have here are tornadoes, but I'm sure straight line wind could be looped in there as well. The impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. That is from the National Weather Service out of Chicago. So, of course, we're tracking not only that storm, and we'll get more into these in just a minute. We've got another tornado warned storm that's going into Lombard. I hope I'm saying that right. We've got Oak Brook, Downers Grove, Willowbrook in here as well. Now, this tornado warning goes until 9:45. It's a bit of a smaller area that it's warned for, so that may get extended farther to the east, but I'm sure they're holding off because this is more of a populated area for now. This is in a severe thunderstorm warning, so like downtown Chicago, more of those closer suburbs are in a severe thunderstorm warning. So if you're in this area, you may go ahead and get to your safe spot. And now that we are doing this from home, I am going to go ahead and check. I can see your comments, so if you have any comments, go ahead and stick them in the Facebook Live. I'm going to go ahead and check the audio too, because we are doing this from home in a little bit of a different way. Okay, I heard my audio. It looks good, but I can see all of your comments, so go ahead and stick your comments in there. If you have any questions about this storm, or if you're just tuning in from someplace, tell me where you're tuning in from. All right, let's keep going down to the south here. We're going into Plainfield, Bolingbrook now. This is hang on. This is a tornado warning for, they must have canceled this little one and expanded it to this larger one. Tornado warning for southeastern Kendall County in northeastern Illinois. We've also got Will County, northeastern Grundy County, and Cook County, where Chicago is located. Cook County is home of Chicago. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing tornadoes. We're located near Shorewood or near Plainfield, moving east at 45 miles an hour. So one of the biggest hazards here also will be that tornado hazard. However, straight line winds are also going to be a very big hazard here. You can already see some of the strong wind gusts that they have, 70 miles an hour. And Sugar Grove, let's see, what else do we have? I mean, if you go farther down this line, it's really interesting. The southern edge of this line actually has more of that wider bow echo shape here, and that's going to be a really big indication for us that we're going to have some stronger winds out of this. I mean, you can already see that 75 miles an hour, 78 miles an hour. Do we have anything a little bit stronger than that? We've got trees blown down. I've seen some debris falling from the sky at Wash, Blacktop, and Robinson. So yeah, we've got a lot of damage reports the farther down to the south that we go. And this, again, is going into Lincoln, Springfield, and here as well. If you head farther up to the north, that's where we've got more of that tornado threat. Although Bloomington, coming out of Bloomington, we also have that tornado threat. Let's go ahead and switch over to our GR2 analyst here. So what this is this is going to give us more of a really in-depth look at this storm. It's going to be a lot more specific here. So we've got this northern tornado warning. I mean, what they're doing here, if you are watching from someplace like Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, even portions of like southern Missouri and Arkansas, well, the tornado warnings that we get are based on usually just a single supercell, maybe 2 supercells. They're very, very specific, but it's really difficult whenever we have this line of storms to really pinpoint where exactly that tornado threat is, because we have spin-up tornadoes, which while they sound not as threatening, they're extremely threatening still. They just may be produced a little bit quicker and very, very difficult to detect. So that's why some of these warnings are so much larger than what you would see more down in the plains or into the southern plains, even down into Texas. You know, we have those very specific warnings for maybe one specific storm. But whenever we have a line of storms like this, it's really hard to pinpoint where exactly we're looking for that tornado threat, because it changes just so quickly. So we've got that entire line that's coming into Chicago right now warned for the potential of a tornado, and you can see that goes until about 10 o'clock here. So I've got, you can't see on your screen, but I can see the warning, and it says, or at least the warning text, and it says it's moving east at 45 miles an hour. Flying debris will be dangerous, those caught without shelter. Tree damage is likely. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Also, a little note here from the National Weather Service: damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. So this is continuing to move to the east, about 35 to 45 miles an hour. A very fast-moving storm here. Very fast-moving storm. You know, the storm chasers that are on these roads watching these storms, you know, whenever a storm is moving so quickly, it oftentimes outruns storm chasers if they don't have good roads. Now, these are pretty good roads. They can probably get through here. One of the other things that I've been doing here is I've been looking at street cameras in this area. You know, seeing, can we see any damage from these street cameras? And I'm not getting a very good look at the street cameras here, but if anyone has a really good place to go for Illinois street cameras, specifically Chicago, I would love to see that link, because these are they're not updating very quickly. They're just like snapshots that I have here. Anyway, just a little call out for street camera. But yes, if you know anyone in Chicago right now, you definitely need to be sheltering in your place. You definitely need to make sure that you are in your safe spot in the most inner room of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you possibly can, because we have seen damage already from these storms. We will most likely see damage once again as this comes into Chicago. And we've got our meteorologist watching this as we speak. I'm looking at our chat here, and we've got several meteorologists watching this right now. They're talking about how big the polygons are, and which is just what we were talking about just a few minutes ago, just how big these polygons are. Just not something that we normally see in places like Oklahoma. We can switch radars here and go ahead. It may take a minute for this to load back in, but we can go ahead and take a look at some of these more southern storms. This is in Joliet. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Lockport. Feel pretty confident about that one. But yeah, you can see, so what we're watching for here, and I wish I had a little drawing tool. What we're watching for here is we're watching for, if you look down at your velocity, and you can see it, great view of it right down here. So velocity, green is going towards the radar, red is going away from the radar. So you can kind of see that spin here near Joliet. You can see that as well in places like Manhattan, or just to the west of Manhattan. Not as great rotation the farther south that you go. And then you can really tell if these are straight line winds the farther south that you go. If you head farther up to the north, switching radars here. Actually not getting as great of a look from this radar. I'm going to go back to this one. Yeah, and so our meteorologist in our chat are also recognizing that rotation near Joliet. And if you're just jumping on here, you can go ahead and, I see Jake commented in here. You can comment where you're watching from. Comment where you're watching from. Comment if you have any questions as well. Anyway, yeah, we can see a little bit of rotation near Bolingbrook. This southern area has better rotation that I can see. We've got a little bit farther up to the north. But yeah, what we're watching for here is we're watching for that, the strong winds, the green and the red touching. That's what we're watching for here. And as I mentioned, our meteorologists are watching this. They are actively mapping these storms as we speak. So they're looking at the hail, they're looking at the wind, they're looking at the tornado tracks, and they're mapping that. So if you need any of the maps tomorrow morning, we've got them for you. Another thing that I wanted to show you here, this product on the far right side, bottom right side of your screen here, this shows either some very heavy rain or large hail. So it kind of depends on the storm, but I really like to look at this to show that, you know, while we do have that tornado risk out front, once that tornado goes through, we could see a chance for very, very heavy rain or large hail afterwards. I've talked to people before who have been in tornadoes, specifically the Cole tornado in Oklahoma. It was an EF3, and they said that they were so grateful that they put on their shoes and they were wearing long pants whenever they sheltered from the tornado, because afterwards it was still raining and it was hailing and they were getting out and there was debris everywhere and they had to go find another place to shelter because their house was just completely torn apart. And so they were running to the car, but there was still hail coming down, and they were so grateful that they had that protective gear on. Even though they were sheltering inside the house, they were prepared to go outside the house. And that's something that we watch for. You know, once you get some very, very strong winds or maybe some of these embedded tornadoes, you still have all of this stuff behind that tornado. The heavy rain, the strong wind, the hail that could also be a hazard for you. So just a reminder, if you're not needing to shelter now, maybe you're watching us from a different state that's not Illinois, you know, may need to shelter in the future. And just a reminder that you have to put on shoes, you have to put on pants whenever you go shelter, because you definitely don't want to get out in something that you're not well dressed for. Okay, we've got a new tornado warning here. Now, this actually does include downtown Chicago. Okay, so this is including a lot of people. And I think we saw this last night too, where the tornado sirens were going off in Chicago. It may feel a little like deja vu for some of those people, but hopefully they're prepared for it. So we've got a tornado warning for downtown Chicago and some of the surrounding areas like Oak Park or LaGrange, Oak Lawn. I hope I'm saying all these correctly. This goes until 10 o'clock this evening. This storm is moving to the east at 45 miles an hour. And once again, it was the debris statement that we talked about earlier. Flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, vehicles, and tree damage could also occur. So that is from the National Weather Service out of Chicago. And let's see if you can see any of this embedded rotation here. So what we're watching for, and sometimes if you zoom out, you can see it a little bit better. It's very difficult once the storm gets so close to the radar. Sometimes there's so much clutter in the way, it's very difficult to see some of that rotation. I also saw that we were seeing some rotation up near St. Joseph on the other side of the lake. We'll focus down here in Chicago first. There's more people down here. Any questions not this morning? David says, hey, says he's back. Thanks for coming back, David. Any questions? I'm on Facebook. I can see your comments on here. Okay, let's see if we can see some other rotation. And actually, I may hop off of Facebook on here. I'm going to stick in my headphones and listen to our meteorologist talk. They may give some really good insight as well. Alrighty, so I can hear them talk. So we'll stay on here until this tornado warning is done. Let's go ahead. Let me pull up Facebook on my other screen here so that I can see if anyone has any questions. So if you are just jumping in here, we are talking about this tornado warning that's going through Chicago right now. You can see that we have all these pink polygons. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 tornado warnings right now, and I bet this one is about to expire, or they'll go ahead and cancel it early. So this one goes until 9:45, but I bet they cancel this tornado warning early. This tornado warning that goes right into the heart of Chicago, that goes until 10 o'clock this evening, so we've got another 26 minutes on that. If you go farther up to the north in places like Mount Prospect, Buffalo Grove, Evanston, moving east at 35 miles an hour, and this goes until 10 o'clock as well. I think most of these go until 10 o'clock, you know, just kind of straight across the board. The National Weather Service put these massive tornado polygons out, and they all go until 10 o'clock this evening. And farther down to the south, this is, you know, sometimes we get so zoomed into one area, forget to look at other areas that are also getting these very extreme winds, strong storms. So this will load in just a minute here. There we go. This is your typical classic textbook derecho signature. So if you've never heard the word derecho before, it is a very large band of storms all clustered together. And the big signature about a derecho, or the big notable factor here, is that it impacts a very, very large area for a long amount of time. And I don't know the exact specifications of how long it has to be to be classified as a derecho, or how long that it has to be, you know, warned for, or have a certain wind speed for, to be classified as a derecho, but this is exactly what we were expecting. So the National Weather Service did a really good job, or the Storm Prediction Center did a really good job of warning this today, and they did a really good job of getting everyone prepared for this. But we'll move on here, and we'll take a look at this tornado warning near Bellflower. So this is just to the south of Chicago. We're in kind of central Illinois here. And you can see, yep, this area, we're looking for these little notches in what would be like a smooth line of storms. So maybe this one is our next one to be warned, down by Clinton. We're looking for these little notches. I see someone in here asked about hail. Gabriel asked about hail. Let's see if we've got any hail signatures right now. Not a ton in terms of hail. Sometimes whenever we get these windstorms, the hail risk goes down because it's more of these storms moving at a horizontal level. We need storms to move vertically to be really tall to get hail, and these storms that move so quickly, they just don't have any time to produce that hail. If I were to see hail, I would expect it to be either be on the backside of these storms, or even on some of these more isolated storms out here, but these don't look to be doing much, just bringing some heavy downpours and rain. So this is more in like central Illinois. Yeah, we've got some rotation. This is the area that I was looking at to possibly see some rotation here. So that's what we're watching for. We're watching for these little spin-up tornadoes. And that's why the National Weather Service has warned such a large area here. Just a massive area that has been warned. And we can switch radars here. Tornado warning goes, I wish that I had, actually, you know what, on my phone, I can tell you exactly how large these tornado warnings are. Okay, so for this northern tornado warning, it spans about 15 miles north to south and about 20 miles east to west. for this one that's coming into Chicago, it's obviously a little bit smaller. It's about 15 miles north to south and about 15 miles northwest, east to west. There you go. Y'all, it's late. It's almost 10 o'clock. This southern one is much larger. You can see that here. So north-south, the southern one is about 26, 27 miles long. And east-west, just about the same. Ooh, we got 32 miles long. Yeah, so we usually don't see them this massive, but what we're watching for here are just these little spin-ups. And you can see it. Actually, this is a great view here. All right, Frankfurt, Lincoln States. What we're watching for here is if the radar is here, these winds are moving away from the radar. These winds are moving to the radar. Do you see that rotation? And we've got gate-to-gate rotation here. And so that is exactly what we're watching for, to see these little spin-up tornadoes. And we say little, but like they could still cause a ton of damage. They're fast. They're quick spin-up tornadoes. Okay, let's see what the National Weather Service said. So the Storm Prediction Center is looking a little bit farther out, and let's switch over to this one. It's not going to pull up. There we go. So we can kind of zoom out here and you can see, and I can take some of these things off. There you go. A little bit clearer now. You can see exactly what we're watching for here, right? We're watching for this storm we call it a bow echo, that's bowing out, kind of like a bow and arrow. It's stretching out there. It's an indication of some really strong wind. And what the National Weather Service did is they're looking a little bit farther out. And so they are saying that they're going to issue a watch farther out than what has been issued right now. So there's a severe thunderstorm watch highlighted there in pink. They're going to continue. They're going to stretch this watch out farther out to the south, possibly including Indianapolis. This will be on the very, very edge. Indianapolis will be on the very edge of this watch, it looks like. And they're still expecting, they say the southern end of a severe MCS continues to propagate to the southeast. There's some kind of meteorology terms in here. But severe winds are expected to continue with this for at least, we've seen severe winds for the last 30 minutes. Yeah, so we've got a lot. If I turn these back on, we've got a lot of damage out here from the severe winds. We've got severe thunderstorm damage, 3-inch tree limbs broken, power poles down. Trees blown down, blocking traffic between Goofy Ridge and Bishop. This is back in Topeka, not Kansas. This is Illinois. Some shingles blown off. I know there's a lot of people who are interested in this one. Some shingles blown off and siding blown off of a neighbor's house. Funnel cloud spotted. And this is in, it's not going to let me see. This is in Havana, Mason County, Illinois. Let's see what we've got. Oh, an 18-inch tree limbs blown down at 307 West Pine Street. This is in Hartsburg, Logan County, Illinois. So this is right outside of Lincoln. So yeah, tons of damage from this storm. This is all wind damage with some isolated tornadoes. But up here, farther to the north, and wow, we have another tornado warning. Let's switch back over to get a more detailed look at this. We've got another tornado warning farther down to the south. So we now have, we now have from Highland Park, just north of Chicago, all the way down to still northern Illinois. We have 4 tornado warnings that stretch about 75, 80 miles. And I know you can't see that, but that's what I'm looking at. 80 miles of potential tornadoes from this line of storms. Very, very impressive here. Very impressive storm system right here. Any other questions that I can see on here? Tram is on here. She says everything is in a red box. Yeah, I know this looks a little funky. So the red box is severe thunderstorm warnings. The pink box is a tornado warning. But yeah, everything's in a red box. That is a classic signature of a derecho, that everything is warned. Derechos impact like such a wide area for such a long period of time. Yeah, so what we're watching for here are these little embedded spin-ups. Maybe there's one like there. Maybe one like here. That red box is. I'm looking for some of these like what we look for is these little notches and then like gate to gate rotation, gate to gate where the red boxes meet the green boxes. That's what we're watching for there. Now this tornado warning goes until 10:15. So I mean the National Weather Service, they are looking so much farther out than what's happening right now, right? They know that this line will continue to bow out. It's tracking to the east right now. It's tracking to the east at 60 miles an hour. So if you were on here earlier, it was 35, 45 miles an hour. This is actually picking up speed. And let me go ahead and switch radars here so we can go farther to the south here. This is actually picking up speed, which is, depending on the storm, a signature that it is intensifying. And whenever we see these bow echoing storms, these derechos, that's a signature that it'll intensify, and then if it keeps this up, it could just completely weaken. But we'll see what it does here. But yeah, 60 miles an hour. That's how fast it's going. That's very impressive. Again, I was talking about earlier is these storm chasers who are on these storms right now. They will sometimes, if they don't have good roads, and you know, in Chicago you may have good roads, but you may run into traffic. It's difficult to chase in cities. Now it looks like here maybe you could have a good road near Hammond, but some of these other areas, you know, like if you get into Beecher, you don't have a good east-west road here. And you really, really struggle to chase these storms that are so fast. Sometimes the storms will outrun you. You have to like find like a Sonic or a gas station or something to take shelter in while these storms pass over you. Taking a look at this storm that's closer to Chicago now. I mean, it's coming right into the city. So I'm sure that they've got their tornado sirens going off right now. They've probably got you know, people sheltering. Hopefully they're sheltering, because even if we don't see a tornado out of this, which I think we will, I mean, we've got these little notches in here. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for these little notches, and you'll find a tornado inside that notch. But yeah, hopefully we have people sheltering. Either way, if we don't get a tornado out of this, we're still going to get very intense, strong winds. Let's see. Just a few minutes ago, we had a funnel cloud spotted near east-southeast Boulder Hill. This is in Kendall, Illinois. And then we have 5 to 6 inch tree limbs down. Pretty impressive there. 70 mile per hour wind gust. Back at it's actually 61. Well, 70 mile per hour wind gust, yeah. 61 knots. At the Aurora Municipal Airport. So we've got about 13 more minutes on this warning, and I'll stay on here for the next 13 minutes to get this warning through Chicago here. And of course, if you have any questions, you can stick that in the chat. I've got Facebook up. I don't know about YouTube or Twitter. Let's see if we've got YouTube up here. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, I also have our YouTube chat up. Okay, thanks, Ben. We can hear, Ben, you're going to listen to our Facebook Live real quick. So I can hear the meteorologist in my headphones here. They're all mapping the storms as we speak. That's what we do. We map them in real time. And Vin just said it was, what is that, 245 miles? Is that correct? Of severe wind. So a very, very large area. This usually spans over multiple states, which is exactly what we're seeing here. A very, very large area that is severe warned for quite some time, usually doing mass damage. And we're not talking about, those it's usually not a uh, high rated tornado that's doing that mass damage. It's these severe winds just over and over and over. However, we do have a very large area here, tornado warned. So we could definitely see this damage coming from a tornado. And I want to go ahead back to my radar on my phone. Let's see, what's the area that we have tornado warned right now? About 89, 90 miles, 90 miles of tornado warned storms. That's what we have right now. If you stretch from like Mount Prospect, let's see, what is this? Deerfield, all the way down to Pittwood. If you stretch, that is 90 miles of tornado warned storms right now. Very, very impressive. Okay, on YouTube, I can't see your names, but I see KM. How concerning is it? In downtown Chicago. So we're definitely going to see some very strong winds in downtown Chicago because we have these embedded tornadoes in here. Yeah, I definitely think that's possible. So if you're in downtown Chicago right now, I would go ahead and be in your safe spot. You need to put as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. You want to be in the innermost room of your house, away from all of the windows. And as I mentioned earlier, you also want to make sure that you're dressed appropriately. Go ahead and put your tennis shoes on. Go ahead and put any pants on. You don't want shorts on at this point. That's my point here. However, if you're in downtown Chicago, this storm is right on top of you. So I would go ahead and get in that safe spot right now. Let's see if we have any other questions in here. Sean's asking about the hail here from Virginia. Yeah, so oftentimes we really struggle to see hail, or at least get hail reports from these storms that are more of a wind event. This is more of a wind event, so we're going to see that really strong wind. Switching back over to Facebook. So I can see your comments or your questions if you do have any. And if you hear any rustling in the background, that's because I'm at home right now. So we've just got, the house noises, the dishwasher, my husband's cooking food right now. So that's maybe what you're hearing. Either way, we've got, let's see, about 9 more minutes on this tornado warning. These storms up near Chicago have also picked up speed. We said it was either 35 or 45 miles an hour about 10 or 15 minutes ago, and we are up to 50 miles an hour. That's the movement. It's moving east at 50 miles an hour right now, just into the heart of Chicago. I mean, we can get street view here. Look at that. We can show you. This is what our meteorologists do. They look at intersection by intersection. What do they expect to see based on radar? Going up to the north here. Oh, we just had an update there. Seeing if the National Weather Service said anything new. This looks like very similar to what we saw earlier. Yeah, they're calling this tornadic thunderstorms. when this tornado warning, holy moly, farther down to the south has been extended. This is a massive box here. Switch radars. Actually, I'm going to switch it to over here. Let's see what this looks like whenever it pops up here. And one of the reasons that the National Weather Service is warning such a large area is because this storm is moving so fast. So I said earlier that I think this area was moving about 60 miles an hour to the east. This is now at 70 miles an hour to the east. So this is just a very, very fast moving storm here. This is from the National Weather Service in Chicago. A severe squall line capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight line wind damage was located along a line extending from Grant Park to near Moments. I hope I'm saying that right. Moving east at 70 miles an hour, one of the biggest hazards here. Tornadoes, however, high wind is also a very big hazard here. The National Weather Service saying these dangerous storms will be near St. Anne and Hopkins Park around 9:55. So that is as we speak. I can put some strong wind from this. Okay, so this is another thing we were talking about earlier. You know, the tornado hazard, the tornado threat is obviously the biggest thing that we're watching for here, right? We're watching for that initial threat along this line of storms will be high wind and tornadoes. However, if you look farther back behind these storms, we've also got a ton of rain that is coming down here. And we've got a flood report. This is in Oswego, Kendall County, Illinois. An emergency manager reported that Washington Street is impassable because of all of the water that's running off into it. So it may not be a ton of rain, but it's a ton of rain too quickly. So maybe we're only getting a few inches here, but it's running all into the same place. And as we saw in this situation, it's making the street impassable. We've got a little bit of a notch here that's coming into Evanston. Lincolnwood, this is an area to keep an eye on. This coming right through downtown Chicago right now. So if you know anyone in this area, they are getting just poured on right now. Maybe a little bit of hail in this, but most likely seeing just a very, very high wind, ton of rain with this. So what we're watching for here is you can see kind of where the storm bows out at. This is going to be high wind, what we call straight line wind, going all in the same direction. But whenever we see these little notches in this storm, that's what we're watching for the potential of spin-up tornadoes. And this goes all the way down to the south. So we have from just north of Chicago all the way down to central Illinois here. And this is a severe thunderstorm warning for strong winds. And that actually the National Weather Service may have canceled that as it heads into Champaign right now. We'll see what they do with that. We're right on the edge of these warnings. They go until 10 o'clock. So with this is something that we were talking about earlier. If you see this area, this is a product that shows some very, very heavy rain or some large hail in this area. And so this is an area that we watch for not only that tornado circulation, which we may have just for a bit there, but also for just heavy downpours. Of course, it's going to cause that flooding hazard and potentially some hail, but you know, usually with these, we don't see a ton of hail with this. It's possible. High wind is going to be your biggest threat with these, or your most common threat. Yeah, this is pretty impressive. Latif says her daughter in Mariana Tower says the sirens are very loud and there's very loud wind. Hopefully it passes quickly. You know, the good thing about these storms is they are moving really fast. They don't last for very long. This is moving to the east at, let's see. This is moving to the east at, I think we had in this area earlier 60 miles an hour. Up, and the tornado warning was just dropped for this area just to the north of Chicago. So Chicago itself, you know, especially downtown, still included in this warning, but we have, I think, another 2 minutes on this. And it's moving to the east at 50 miles an hour, so it should be out of there pretty quickly. Behind this, let me switch radars here. Behind this is still some rain, so you can tell your daughter there's still going to be rain out there after that warning is dropped, so she definitely still needs to stay in her safe spot until this warning is dropped. And this warning, this severe thunderstorm warning, goes probably until 10 o'clock as well. I'm gonna look. 10:15. Okay, so we've got still a few more minutes on that severe thunderstorm warning. Either way, yeah, so she still needs to stay in her safe spot until at least 10:15 until that severe thunderstorm warning is dropped. We've got a little bit of rain behind this initial line of storms, but really not there. After these storms move out. And now, 9:59, that tornado warning is dropped. We still have storms farther down to the south in places like Chicago Heights, Beecher, Moments, St. Anne. We still have tornado warned storms in these areas. Actually, this tornado warning, holy moly, very large polygon here. This goes all the way, moving to the east at 75 miles an hour, all the way through Rensselaer, I hope I'm saying that correct, up to Michigan City. Valpo included in this as well. This other tornado warning, and this goes until moving to the east at 65 miles an hour. The biggest hazard here, damaging tornadoes. And this one farther down to the south is moving even faster at 75 miles an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off of here because that tornado warning is now dropped out of Chicago, but we appreciate you guys watching this evening. Of course, I mean, you know us at Hail Trace, we are going to be watching these storms at all hours of the night. Someone is always back there watching storms. Someone is always, yeah, they're talking in the chat about the storms. Talking about the Chicago sirens. Maybe even sending some pictures, yeah. So I'll be on social media for the next little bit. I'll be looking for pictures of damage from the wind, the tornadoes, and even some hail damage. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go throughout the rest of the night. Of course, we'll be updating you tomorrow morning as well. We have a noon forecast that we would love for you to join in and tune in on Facebook and YouTube as well as TikTok. We've started to do TikTok forecasts as well. So thanks for joining us this evening. I'm going to hop off of here. Enjoy your evening. Make sure that you stay safe, stay weather aware. Of course, we'll be always keeping you aware of the weather in the future, forecasted weather, and of course, what happened the day before. If you need any maps, we have them at hailtrace.com. Go over there. We also have a blog that we update quite frequently so that you can take a look at the other information if you're just like a weather enthusiast like we are. We've got a lot of information in that blog. Okay, have a fantastic Monday evening. Stay safe. We'll see you back here, same time, or different time, noon tomorrow, but same place, noon, 12 o'clock tomorrow. Have a fantastic Monday evening. Have a fantastic